Hello everyone, my name is Stitcher Proxy, and thank you for all the help, for the love today. And I'm sorry that I have not posted a video in a long time. It's just I'm in a high school right now, and everything's kind of going crazy with that. But the best thing I can do right now is this. If you guys know, I've been a fan of the creepypasta genre. Kind of determining my name of my thing is called Proxy. It stands for it kind of leads to the Cinderman Proxy group and all that. But I'm a fan of creepypasta, and I'll be bringing you today three creepypastas back to back. And also, this is from Mr. Creep. No, sorry. My brain's gone another place today, but this is from CreepyPasta Jr. If you guys have not subscribed to him, please do. His creepypastas are one of the ones I actually love to read out of the other three, but just because of his voice actually makes me want to actually go into the story and understand him. And if you're new to my channel or anything like this is how I do a creepypasta video or story videos anyway. I have to listen all the way through, and then I get my comment at the end of the video. If you can understand that, and if you're not a fan of those kind of videos, I understand that basically you want me to react to it right when I hear it, but I want you guys to actually listen to the story. And also, if you have your own theory on this, or if you have your own explanations of why they might have done this, I have my own. And if you have your own, please let me know in the comments. And there will be links down to these three videos down in this description. But let's get this started. CreepyPasta Jr.
I'm here to talk about a topic I've taken an interest to lately that never had gotten a lot of media coverage despite how interesting it is. The I Love You murders. They were a series of 5 murders, which took place in a large city in Ohio throughout 1962. The first in the chain of murders took place on January 20th. A woman had been found in an alleyway in the more sketchy part of town. She had been scalped. Not a single strand of her long dark hair had been left behind. It was definitely a very odd MO. Cause of death was determined to be a stab wound to the back that pierced right through to her heart. The only clue left to go on was a note, which was stuffed into her mouth that read, "I loved her." Since there wasn't anything else to go on, it turned into a cold case. On March 3rd, the next body was found. A woman had been beaten to death and was sprawled out across an old set of railroad tracks not too far from downtown. She had been beaten to death and left very disfigured. She had definitely put up a fight in an attempt to get away. She was missing nails, and her head had been slammed against the tracks several times, leaving her skull cracked. The most disturbing part of this murder is the fact that her crystal blue eyes had been gouged out while she was still alive. There was a note stuffed into her mouth that read, "I loved her," just like the previous murder. In mid-July, a few teenagers had broken into an abandoned house to drink, but their party had been cut short when they found the body of a woman who had been slaughtered in the back room. Her heart had been literally chiseled from her chest, which was also the cause of her death. Yet again, the now infamous note had been left in the mouth of the victim, but still no evidence to go on. 4 months later, the police were starting to think the killings had finally died down, but their wishful thinking had been put to an immediate halt when the next victim had been found. 2 teenagers had broken into an abandoned factory and found the body of a woman whose face had been carved off. She had also been stabbed several times in the abdomen. She had died from the blood loss. But same as always, nothing but the note was left behind. The 5th and final murder took place on December 1st. This murder wasn't like the others, though. The only things that had been left behind were 2 green eyeballs, red chunks of hair, a heart, the woman's face, and a note that read, "I loved her." In 2007, the killer was finally found, but not exactly caught. The now old man had been found dead of natural causes in his home. Months later, while his children were clearing out his house in the process to put it up on the market, they found an old wardrobe with a padlock on it. Thinking it would be filled with nothing more than guns or paperwork, they carelessly cut the lock. The 3 of his now fully grown children stood around in awe at what they had found. A perfectly preserved woman, although it was more like bits and pieces sewn together to make a woman. Taped to the doors on the inside of the wardrobe were pictures that looked to be of their father in his teenage years, with a gorgeous woman about the same age. She had long dark hair and bright blue eyes, just like the woman in front of them. But it didn't exactly look like the same woman. Some features were close, but not dead on. At closer examination, the words, "I love you," were cut into her lips.
Okay, guys. Ooh, that was actually pretty good. What I would say, this story, my opinion on this was pretty good. I kind of understand this is basically the murderer might have, as a teenager, fell in love with someone and maybe they died or broke up with them and they could never basically could never stop thinking about them, and they basically, when he got older or an adult age where he could kill, he had a picture of her, and he thought the best way, if I could not have her, I could make a duplicate just like her, or if she died, if I can no longer see her, basically I can make a new version of her, trying to basically fill his heart with something. And Criminal Minds has a good example of those stuff, but I really liked it. It's pretty cool, and I like the kind of letting you know everything that they left at the bodies, at the crime scenes. That kind of made me kind of understand what was everything about. It was kind of cool. I would rate this one a 9, actually, because it did make my skin crawl. And that's really hard to do with some of these stories. But it's pretty good. CreepyPasta Jr. I respect you very much and thank you. This CreepyPasta video is pretty damn cool. Out of all the ones I think I've ever watched on my time and any other ones, this is one of the best ones I've read over time. It's a good one, and if you guys are fan of CreepyPasta genre and you don't know what to go for, I'll leave a link to his channel where you could subscribe to him. You really need to, because he does some good videos, and yeah. And also, I will show you they'll show you right here when he posts his new videos every day. He gets a new creepypasta he posts a new creepypasta every Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday. That's pretty cool. Follow him on Twitter as well. He's pretty cool, and I wish I get to meet this guy. He's one of the this is one of the reasons why I got into creepypasta genre, was for Creepypasta Jr. and his creepy stories and all this stuff. But let's go to the next one. Let's pull the playlist. I'm using Creepypasta Jr.'s playlist to give me a new one to make it a lot easier on me. Let's go with the baby monitor. I have not seen this one. If it's how long this one is, I'm probably going to stop after this one for you guys. But you guys, I hope you guys also have a great Christmas, because I probably won't be doing any videos over Christmas break. And I wish you all a great time, but let's get to this next video.
When I was in high school, my friends and I had a peculiar pastime. Like any teenage delinquent, we liked to cause trouble. We weren't vandals, we didn't deal drugs, and we certainly didn't bully kids in school. No. We liked to scare the living crap out of new parents by hacking their baby monitors. We were insufferable little punks who thought we were too good to get caught, and that our little acts of mischief would go unpunished. One night, however, I learned my lesson, and I realized that I wasn't quite as bulletproof as my tremendous adolescent ego made me out to be. Dimitri, Kurt, and I went to the same school, shared many of the same classes, and hung out almost every evening after dinner. We watched prank shows and played video games, talked about who had the nicest rack in school. One evening, we were trading scary stories at the park. Kurt shared the classic story about a single mother who heard a haunting voice on her baby monitor. Like most horror stories, it sounded like total bullshit, but Dimitri told us it had happened to his mom once. On her own monitor, she heard a neighbor singing to her baby. Apparently, it was possible to accidentally tap into someone else's frequency. In an instant, a light bulb turned on inside of our heads. When you're close enough to someone, you don't need words to know what that person is thinking, and we could all tell we were thinking the exact same thing. We were going to buy a baby monitor and screw with people. Pardon the pun, but hacking a baby monitor is child's play. All you need to do is find a device on the same frequency as yours. Never one to do half-assed things, I purchased a high-end monitor with a frequency dial so we could prank as many targets as possible. The following night, we took our bikes, roamed the neighborhood, and found our first victim. We could see the nursery from the suburban's home's second-floor window. Dimitri grabbed the baby monitor and began tuning it to different frequencies until we heard breathing. I remember feeling excited as our plan finally came to fruition. Dimitri pressed the button and began exhaling heavily into the receiver.
Your little girl was delicious,
he murmured, using a demonic voice. The light in the master bedroom turned on almost immediately, and we heard a shrill scream. Laughing our asses off, we quickly rode off down the street so we wouldn't get caught. We repeated the prank several times over the course of the following weeks, each taking turns talking through the monitor. Not wanting anyone to get wise to our little game, we chose different houses every time. People's reactions were priceless. Some mothers would reply in a panic. Others seemed to know it was a hoax and told us to just shut the hell up. And one poor woman even started sobbing uncontrollably, begging us not to hurt her baby. I kind of felt bad about that last one now that I'm older, but it was hilarious to me back then. My friends and I mimicked her high-pitched bawling and desperate cries for mercy for weeks afterwards. Yeah, we were assholes. But karma's a cruel mistress, and I got what was coming to me one night. Kurt and Dimitri were busy studying for their midterms, so I went out on my own. By then, we'd gotten pretty much everyone in the surrounding area, so I decided to venture off across town into unfamiliar territory. Finding a target wasn't difficult. You just had to look for cars with baby seats, houses with overly colorful cartoon-themed curtains, or toys left in the yard. I came across a house that fit all three criteria, and parked my bike out of view. Playing with the tuner, I eventually found the right frequency. I could hear the sound of a baby snoring very lightly. A devious little smirk pushed its way onto my lips, and my heart began pounding with excitement. It was my time to shine.
I am watching.
I whispered into the monitor, using the creepiest voice I could muster. The house remained dark and lifeless. I figured the homeowners hadn't heard me.
I stand over your bed, watching, waiting. I will get you,
I said, louder this time. Nothing. Just the sounds of crickets chirping and the occasional dull roar of a car driving down the street. It was a little odd. Parents usually reacted much quicker than that. I began feeling a little nervous and somewhat exposed. You know, like when you suddenly realize some creeper's gawking at you. It was getting late and I had a long bike ride home. Just as I was about to give up and leave, I heard a strange, gurgling sound coming from the monitor. The quiet, rhythmic snores ceased, and I had assumed the baby had woken up and was about to start crying. But instead, a man spoke to me.
You're the one being watched, Juan.
He said softly. My stomach pirouetted at his words. How did he know my name? I felt sick. Something was very wrong, and I could feel it in my bones. I glanced up at the nursery window and saw a silhouette standing there, watching me. Had he been there the whole time? The air was thick and difficult to inhale, though perhaps fear was making it hard to breathe. My body quivered uncontrollably as a sense of dread poured into every inch of me. I climbed on my bike, pedaling desperately to get away. Part of me thought I was overreacting, but the overwhelming need to flee empowered my rational mind.
You can't run. I know where you live, Juan.
Continued the man, even as I turned the corner. I flew down the street, not stopping until I reached a busy boulevard. Surrounded by cars and a few late-night joggers, I felt safe.
Your hoodie will run red with your blood, boy,
said the man, still talking through the baby monitor in my pocket. A passerby gave me a nasty look as I yelped loudly in fear, practically ripping my hoodie in my frantic attempt to remove it. To the stranger, I must have looked like some snotty kid tripping balls or something. He didn't know I was in genuine distress, so I don't blame him for walking off with an insulted huff, though I wish he had offered to help me instead. After stuffing my hoodie into my backpack, I noticed my name scrawled on the back of it. It was my damn school jacket. No wonder that bastard knew my name. It then occurred to me that baby monitors were fairly short range, so I was obviously being followed. I nervously glanced around to try and identify my stalker. Was it the empty-looking van down the street? The guy walking his dog? The car that had just driven by? Either way, the last thing I wanted was to hear that voice again, so I turned off the device and started pedaling towards my home. Fear had heightened my senses, and I began to notice every motion of the trees in the breeze, every crackle of twigs under my...
We have some technical difficulties. This is